Last time on Missing Stars, our hero Eric Wilhelm conversed with Father Max in the chapel, wrestled with his newfound insecurities about his mental illness, and overcame his fears of therapy, proceeding to attend his counseling session with Dr. Faber. Eric was pleasantly surprised at how he was not dissected like an alien, and took a major step in finding acceptance of his new life. Our story picks up as Eric leaves Dr. Faber's office. Strap yourselves in for new characters and awkwardness, and possibly more sandwiches.
It's a simple endeavor to retrace my way out of the building, however this time I pay deliberate attention to avoid walking within the old wear marks on the hallway carpeting. Now in a much better mood, I decide to take a longer route back to the dorm. Or I would have, but of course I'm predictably stopped short by my leg. Are you kidding me? It's only been a few minutes, but it's already beginning to bother me as I work my way down the outdoor path. It looks like I still have some distance to go, as looking around I don't recognize the generic school building and bordering woodland. I could try to push myself to continue around the building to see if I recognize any obvious landmarks, however, I stumble, almost face-planting the concrete, but thankfully catch myself just in time. Tripping at this point wouldn't be ideal. I take a momentary glance around and spot a fallen log a short way into the woods beside the main road. It'd be a decent place to sit that isn't in the dirt or sun, but in the woods, I can already see a fence ominously blocking further entry. However, the log is on my side of the fence, so I guess walking that far shouldn't be a problem, right? Cautiously, ignoring a warning sign, I push through some of the side foliage. Oh, you are gonna get hit. Oh. And come out into an almost brand new world under a canopy of trees. I'm only just a few feet away from the path and already the entire mood has changed. A wash of swaying green leaves and the melody of distant bird song comes alive before me. Wow. I make my way toward the log, which is only a few meters away, continuing to listen into the sounds of the forest. I step onto a branch hidden in the soil, which gives way with a resounding crack. The peaceful ambience of the forest is broken immediately. The air is soon filled by the sound of fluttering wings. Flocks of birds, alarmed by my intrusion, launch themselves up and disappear into the sky. I watch as they fly off, but scared them away. A soft voice, called my attention to the other side of... Who's this? From the other side of the fallen tree. I didn't recognize the color of the font. Wait a second. Who's she? Hobbling to the other side of the fallen log, I find a girl staring longingly into the sky after the birds.
The birds flew away.
Oh yeah?
I liked the birds.
Good for you, man.
It turns out what I'd assumed was Moss is actually the head of a St. Diffinus student. Her hair is pulled out of her face and tied back, maybe as an afterthought. However, her uniform is rather ironically neatly pressed and a kind of spotless you would not expect to find under a mess of hair. Or in a forest, for that matter. It's hard to pay attention to anything else other than this girl in front of me. I try and open my mouth to say something, anything, but why did you do that? Cut off as she beats me in starting the conversation. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't think anyone else would be here. She eyes me warily for a moment, and then a while. The silence begins to stretch so far between us that soon my pre-Faber internal anxiety is starting to return. Should I just leave, or... It doesn't even seem like she wants to look at me, although that's not too surprising, considering that I am a random stranger in her eyes. Try to find new opportunities to make some good friends. Faber's voice rings out in my mind, so I clear my throat. I'm Eric Wilhelm. I extend my hand towards hers. I'm actually a new transfer student. She glances briefly at my uniform, then looks away just as quickly. She nods, perhaps in acknowledgement of my words, although the reaction appears more mechanical than any kind of natural response. Was this how I came across to Dr. Faber earlier? Introspection, cool. The quiet stillness quickly returns between the two of us, leaving only the accompaniment of light rustling the leaves. Rustling of leaves. You screwed up, Eric. I slowly retract my hand. I'm sorry for bothering you. I'm ready to turn around and leave. However, as if compelled by my sudden departure, the girl mumbles out a barely audible whisper. I'm supposed to introduce myself. She squares her shoulders, though still neglects to make eye contact with me, and calls out her own introduction with a voice much louder than before. I'm Isolde Gaillard. I've been here for 2 years and 1 month. I nod back, but in the spirit of making friends, I feel a little confused at this point. I have no idea how to continue this conversation. Of course you wouldn't. I wouldn't either, back in high school. It's nice to meet you. That's a start. Oh, right, it's nice to meet you too. I try to play my absent-mindedness as a joke, chuckling. Why are you laughing? The hollow laughter catches in my throat, and I answer with resignation. I don't know. She nods, indicating that to be a perfectly acceptable answer. You're really weird. Work hard to stifle another laugh. Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty weird right now. My leg is now screaming at me, leaving me close to collapsing. To tell you the truth, I'm a little tired and was looking for a place to rest. I motioned to the fallen log she's occupying. Can I sit down? At this point, I'm not even sure if I could make it back to the main road if she said no. My butt meeting the ground seems to be an inevitability, whether elevated on a log or not. Probably. I'll take it. It's not a definitive yes, but I can probably feel I can already feel my leg buckling underneath me. I wobbled dangerously before perching on the end of the log, just a little way from where Isolda is sitting. Exhaustion overtakes me. I don't know whether it's because I'm relying far too much on one leg for support, or maybe that I'm mentally exhausted after Faber's meeting. Still, in a few moments, relief courses throughout my body. Relief courses throughout my body. Yes. God fucking damn it. Really hope that doesn't happen again. Still, in a few moments, relief courses throughout my body, and I throw my head back with a satisfied sigh. I'm not sure whether Isolda is still eyeing me warily or not, so without looking directly at her, I try to make an attempt to engage in small talk. So you come here often? Yes. Her curt reply draws my attention, and by looking over I see that she is now standing. Her eyes are fixed hard on the blank that she's standing on, and following her gaze I'm embarrassed that it has taken me this long to realize the pages of sketches littered all around her. They're comprised of differently shaped and shaded local birds, and they look quite good. Did you draw all these? She answers me without looking up. Yes. I'm still unsure whether I should back out of this conversation or not. I could try once more, perhaps, to see if any kind of discussion is possible. Would you mind if I looked at them up close? She tenses up immediately. Yes. Fair enough. However, as I resign myself to ending our talk, she bends down and reaches for a black journal placed next to her. She picks it up with the utmost grace and care, her fingertips grazing the outer edges as if the entire journal were priceless to her. Despite her previous response, she holds the book out toward me and waits for me to take it. Oh, I don't understand. I'm handing it to you. She sounds annoyed now, so rather than argue the point, I accept the book. Ah! I scoot over and reach my hands out to take it, but before I can, she violently jerks the journal back. It takes her a moment, but she quickly collects herself and extends the book towards me again. I think she's a new student too. She seems to be, she seems a little skittish. But yeah, I think she's probably going through the same issues that Eric is. Only this time she's holding it with just her fingertips. Is she afraid to have any contact with me? I decide not to push the issue and accept the book once more. That's good. Don't make a big deal out of it. The book is just like the journal Dr. Farmer had given to me earlier, but after opening and flipping through the pages, I see that it is filled with pictures instead of words. Every page is covered in drawings varying from simple pencil outlines to intricately shaded creatures, from sketches the size of her thumb to full pages depicting a single forested backdrop. It's as if there were another world trapped within the pages. Up close, they're really good. I finish on a picture of an owl sheltering in the fork of a tree, its head tilted to one side, as if eyeing me suspiciously. I'm quickly reminded of the girl in front of me. Satisfied, I hand the book back to her. Isolda accepts it with just her fingertips, still looking. I do that every weekend. She's making some effort not to touch my hands. I try not to pay much attention to it, instead focusing on what I had just seen from her journal. These drawings are amazing. She simply nods, looking like what I said was a dry fact rather than praise for her work. I've got a lot more back at my room. Jean likes them as well. Jean? I wonder if that's the same girl from my gym class. Isolda pauses, looks up at me from where she's collected her drawing implements, starts putting them back into her bag. They're really nothing special though. I just draw what's in front of me. You're a very talented artist. She looks momentarily puzzled as she glances down at the sketch pads in front of her, and then up at a few of the trees. There are plenty of people who... I hear an alarm go off from her bag. It takes her a moment, fumbling through her pockets, but soon enough she pulls out a phone and taps it to stop the alarm. 5 o'clock. She seems to have forgotten I'm there as she fumbles around and gathers up her materials. She hastily returns the sketchbook to her bag, along with a blanket and other materials, before standing back up. I have to get back to the dorm. Jean will be waiting for me to come to dinner. With only that as a goodbye, she starts picking her way through the woods and back towards the school. By the time I'm back on my feet, she's already put some distance between us. She isn't walking to the main road, though, instead cutting directly through the trees on a way. I missed the text! Instead, cutting directly through the trees on a horizontal path to what I assume to be the direction of the dorms. I'm sure there are a number of different rules against that, but at this point I'm inclined to take the shortcut with her. Would it be weird to follow her? Yes. We're both headed back to campus, so there's nothing strange about it, right? We walk in silence, aside from the crunching of fallen branches and leaf litter. Isolde doesn't look back, her destination set. Ultimately, the distance is a short one, and it takes only moments to reach the end of the tree line. I can already see Isolde walking through a muddy clearing by the dormitories. Just as I start to work my way around... Shit! I feel my leg fold underneath me. I fall against the mud, expertly missing dry glass by mere centimeters. I'm now very sore, though the feeling in my leg means I can still move at least. It takes a bit of coercion rubbing my side, but I'm tentatively able to lever myself back into a sitting position, trying to keep the mud dripping on only one side of my body. As I look up, I'm surprised to see a nervous Isolde staring at my leg. I hadn't even noticed her approach, but there she is, standing in the middle of the mud pit I just fell into. Hey! I whip the mud off my hands and test out my leg a little. I could probably get up without help and hopefully not embarrass myself further. That said, with Isolde there, I wouldn't mind a hand. Yeah, but here's the thing, is that she's obviously she obviously has, like, some issues with personal space and, like, you know, contact with other people. And if Eric can manage it, if it's not an emergency, then I think I would just pass, because, you know, I don't want to make her uncomfortable. Stretch my bad leg out, rubbing the muscles of my thigh, and roll over so I can get my good leg under myself. Take a moment to gather myself, standing up. I stumble as I put weight on my bad leg, but I manage to right myself. Good as new. I look down at myself, seeing all the dirt collected on my new uniform, and can't help but smile a little at the situation. Well, a little worse for wear. Are you alright? I look back and see Isolde holding an expression of concern towards me. I survived. That's good. She once again nods, but I am a little surprised to see that she's smiling now. It's the smile so genuine that it hurts. Yeah. I need to think of something to say. I need to go now. I don't want to keep Jean busy. Just like that, she turns away from me and faces in the direction of the school dorm buildings. She's probably just, you know, a little socially awkward herself. She starts to walk away, but I want to stop. Don't. What? What are you doing, dude? What are you doing? What you doing? What you doing? Isolde! She stops and turns back to me, albeit a little confused. She doesn't say anything, she doesn't even really look at me, but I know she's waiting for me to say something. I'll see you again later? It might seem weird to say, but I'm trying to meet some new people. A minor look of confusion crosses her face, though I hardly feel that I've said anything perplexing. Isolde pauses. Probably. She begins to turn away again, but I suddenly realize something important. No, I mean... She stops, and I force the words caught in my throat to come out. Maybe we could be friends, if that's alright. She's a little taken aback by my comment and takes a long pause. I wait. I wouldn't mind. That's actually really good, because I mean, she obviously has some social issues herself, so it's probably good for her to make some new friends as well, because she seems to be very nervous and skittish around people, at least based on what we've seen so far. But I really need to go. Of course, I should head back to my dorm room and change as well. Isolde nods, her body slowly tilting to face away from me. I figure at this point it's hardly a malicious gesture. From first impressions, perhaps it's simply a part of who she is. Probably. That'd be a good idea before you get too cold or get mud inside anything important. It's an interesting comment, but nonetheless, I can't help but crack a grin. Right, no one would want that. Not even the mud, I imagine. I like her. Well then, goodbye, Eric. For now. She turns and finally, after a moment of pause, she walks away for good. She doesn't look back. Just like that, I'm left covered in mud alone. With a newfound energy, one even greater than my experience with Dr. Faber, I turn towards the other direction and make the trip back to my own dorm. I hardly even notice my leg. Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome! That's awesome! It's really cool. That's really cool. The rest of my afternoon is spent idly walking through the halls. My homework's mostly done, but I can hold off until after dinner. As I wander, my thoughts turn to the recent encounter I had with Isolde. I've made another friend. Sort of. At least I think that's what happened. It was hard to tell with her. Regardless, it's a valuable experience. I just hope that I can get more of them as I continue to go here. The hallways were mostly empty, but the grounds outdoors tells a different story. Groups of students gather near the entryways, walk together on the paths, and talk on their phones. It's a surprisingly social place, a common area for students to unwind after a day of stuffy classrooms. Come to think of it, if any of these students were like me for a time, I bet they'd crave a few minutes of the outdoors. Not being allowed to leave your room just to get some fresh air felt like a part of you was stripped away. Save game! I don't know why, just felt like it. When I was able to get out of the hospital, fresh air felt like a luxury. I'm sure other students would feel the same way. My wanderings eventually take me back to the men's dorms. I remember one psych ward I was in, going to the hospital's gym was like a treat you could get if you really behaved, because there were some very animated people there. They weren't bad people. They're just, they had their issues like anybody else, and they needed help, so that's why they were there. And I hope that they got the help they needed. I don't even know why I brought that up. I have a bit of homework I can start on before dinner, so I head up to my room and get started. Today's coursework isn't too strenuous, just maths and a French essay I have to write. I could probably knock out the French essay first and start maths after dinner. Let's see. Write about the causes of the French Revolution. Okay, simple enough. Use the new verb conjugations we learned this week to write your essay. Well, that could take a bit longer than I thought it would. Sign, I open up my laptop and start typing. Go to the newspaper club! God damn it. What does see Lena get? Okay, I can call this a good amount of progress now. Just in time, seeing that all students outside appear to be heading out for dinner. Sighing, I extract myself from my chair and head over to get some food. More of the usual crowds here, with everyone gathered in a haphazard line for tonight's meal. Yes! Yes! Eric, hi! Oh, hey, Irene. Doing alright? More or less. You? She thinks for a bit, as if analyzing my question. No, scratch that. She is analyzing my question. If I'd have to guess, I'm doing okay. You guess? Sure, you can't really tell other people how you're feeling, after all. Haven't you read Tolstoy? Can't say that I have. Could have sworn you had at some point. Pretty sure I'd remember. Well, anyway, want to eat dinner together? Yes! That was a quick segue. I don't see why not. Great, let's grab up and find a place to sit. The line in front of us makes that task take a bit longer than Irene's expecting. Finding our seats, thankfully, was a lot less difficult. This cafeteria is a lot bigger than I thought. Funny, that's what everyone says when they come here. Really? I mean, I certainly thought so. Then Ella confirmed the same story with me and some other students, and I figured that a large percentage of the student body thinks this place is smaller than it is. My food's getting cold, so I shovel a bite into my mouth while she continues. So I decided to take things into my own hands and investigated the cafeteria's dimensions. It's feng shui, everything. And you know what I found out? I swallow, half curious about whatever secret this girl is about to reveal to me. Illuminati! What? It's the tables. They're 2 inches taller than the other similar tables I could find online. Tables. Really? Irene nods. Turns out if you feel shorter, everything's bigger. It's subtle, but the effects are huge. I'm somewhat impressed that she did all that work, though. Although I wonder just how much time that all took. Then I got to wondering, just why were these tables so tall? What does the school gain from raising all of the tables? I have absolutely no idea. Irene continues to think for a moment. Me neither, but I'm sure there's some interesting reason. Maybe they're just cheaper? Cheaper for more table? That doesn't make any sense, Eric. I guess. So how are you settling in? Fine, I guess. What makes you ask? Oh, Ella asked me to keep an eye on you. I was anyway, but she asked... I was anyway, but she asked as well. I like her. That's kind of ominous. I keep an eye on the whole school, so by default, I'm keeping an eye on you. And every student? She nods. Someone has to. I kind of doubt that, but I keep it to myself. I'm glad Ella is trying to make sure I settle in well, but I think Irene might not have been the best choice for that. I don't know. She seems pretty cool. Her obligation fulfilled, she digs into her dinner. Seeing no opportunity for conversation, I do the same. With our dinners complete and our trays returned, we begin to wander from the cafeteria. Are you going back to the dorms? Yeah, I've got an assignment to work on. How about you? I have an assignment too. I'll see you around, Eric. Irene takes a hard left and starts walking along a patch of grass that I'm pretty sure you're not meant to walk on. I'm pretty sure that's not the way to the girls' dorms either. I like Irene. Wise or not, I leave the door to my room open for the first time while I run to the toilet and get ready for bed. The only person I can imagine sneaking in there to cause mischief is Irene, and she's filled her quota for the day. I'd say the risk is relatively low. All washed and minty-breathed, I return to the room to find it seemingly unmolested. A minute later, my uniform traded for something a little more comfortable. I settle in for some late-night web surfing. Liquor store closes in an hour. Cool. Still have time. Mostly, though, my web surfing involves floundering around in the shallows of my email, getting tired, and then deciding to go to sleep instead. Tonight, aside from the ubiquitous daily newsletter, there's only one message to read. Mr. Wilhelm, if you would be so kind, please stop by the classroom before class tomorrow morning. There are several things regarding your studies which I would like to discuss with you. Best regards, Edna Kleis. Short and to the point, as I've come to expect of her. If to the point means being vague and conjuring up 1,001 possible horrible reasons for Kleis to email me. Did I fail that first test? Am I failing? Getting expelled? All of the above? Shit! Well, sitting here and worried about it won't be good for my health. For a few more minutes, I click back through the previous emails. I read a few older newsletters that I skipped over the first time and scanned the What's New on Campus sections, full of events that have already gone by. When I'm tired of that, I close up shop and take my metaphorical surfboard to bed. Is that an expression? I know I've only been in class for a few days and that I'm a new student here, but still, I hope that email I got doesn't mean anything serious is going to happen. I suppose there's no worrying about it at this hour. I'm too tired to think about it too much. Before the rest of the students even arrive, I find her at my classroom, where she's getting today's lesson plan ready. Good morning, Miss Kleis. I got your email last night. The last night. The last night. The only last night. The only last night history has ever known. You had something to talk to me about? Ah, thank you for coming, Mr. Wilhelm. I've been meaning to talk to you about your studies for a while. Is there something wrong? Might as well clear the air. No sense beating around the bush. No, Mr. Wilhelm, not at all. I asked for you to come in before class because I would like to offer you some help in regards to your future schoolwork. Not as bad as I thought, I guess. What do you mean? Well, St. Gymnase has had a proud tradition of accommodating students who require study materials, resources, and on-campus tutoring. I think you could excel here, but after looking at your scores from your entrance exams, you could use some help. She's right on that one. Math and science never really came easily to me. The only subjects I excelled at were history and geography, mainly because of my interest in hiking and being outdoors. It also doesn't help that this antidepressant I'm on causes drowsiness too. It's tough getting out of bed. Yep, side effects. They're a bitch. It's tough getting out of bed, let alone staying awake in class. I'm pretty sure Miss Kleis has noticed that part by now. If possible, I'd like for you to... Oh, come in. From outside, a girl enters the room. Hey, it's Jean! Surprisingly, I've met her before. Jean? Oh, hello, Eric. You two have met? Yes, we're in the same physical education class. One could say we had an impactful encounter, so to speak. I see. That makes things a bit easier if you two know each other already. What brings you here, Jean? As I had been saying previously, we have on-campus tutors for students that need an extra hand with assignments. Miss Lefebvre... Europeans have some of the coolest names. none of which I can pronounce, is one of the few student tutors here on campus, and I asked her to assist you with your schoolwork. Cool. I recommend you try studying with Jean for a few sessions. If it's not something you like, we can work out something for you later. Well, what have I got to lose? It's not often that things like this happen. Free help with schoolwork, that is. And I would probably have asked for help at some point during the school year. How bad could it be? Alright, I'll give it a shot. Well, that settles it. Jean, why don't you set up a schedule with Eric here? I'll leave you to it. Yes, ma'am. Jean turns to me, handed me a small folder. Since I'm going to tutor you, I would like to ask you a few questions, just to break the ice a little. It's still way too early for an interview, but I did say I'll try this. I tried to hold in a yawn. I fail. Sure, have at it. Typos aside, I really like the writing. So, question 1. Where are you from? Baselstadt. Basil? I live on the outskirts. So, near Switzerland, right? We have a few students from there, last time I checked. Near, I suppose. What about you? Could you tell? I'm a proud French woman. Jean. Okay, so maybe it's Jean? She speaks the last syllables with an even heavier French accent. I cannot do French accent. If I do, it's very offensive. I'm from the West Coast, near Nantes. Nantes. Oh man, I'm having too much fun. At the expense of all of Europe. Well, bonjour to you, mademoiselle. She raises her eyebrows in mock surprise. So polite. Now ask me a question. Anything you want to learn about me, go ahead. Ah, there was that thing I was interested in. Well, this is something I was curious about. You mentioned you had Tourette's, right? Jean nods. Not to offend, but is yours, different than others? Like, different from how the media plays it out? Constant vulgar language at the ends of my sentences? Random screaming and twitching? Yeah, that. I feel really awkward asking that, but Jean doesn't look phased at all. Well, that's actually a very small number of people with Tourette's. It gets a lot of media attention because it's so shocking, but in reality, most patients just have a minor verbal or motor tics. Ah, okay, makes sense. Sorry for asking that all of a sudden. No worries, lots of my classmates asked the same questions when I first transferred. I'm used to it. Clearly, she's practiced this speech before. I was afraid I'd ask something a little too personal. Well, for some people it would be. Students here have varying degrees of openness. I just happen to be more open about my Tourette's. It's something I've come to terms with, and I do my best to make sure everyone's questions are answered. Oh, that's nice. After all, I'll be tutoring you. It's part of my job to answer your questions. I wish I could have the same attitude about my problems. Jean's honesty is really refreshing, especially at this hour. That's pretty cool, Jean. I'm glad I learned that from you. Really, you're welcome. I'm always happy to help. Now I'd like to ask you a question. Sure, ask away. Do you have any hobbies, anything unique? How do I answer this one tastefully? Yeah, I used to hike until I fell off a mountain. Well, I do a lot of outdoor stuff. Okay, that'll do. Mostly hiking nowadays. Not bad. Other than that, not much else. I'm glad there's a walking trail here on campus, where I'd probably get some kind of cabin fever. Sounds like a very involved hobby. I walk the trails too. It's where my club meets up. Oh, I run the astronomy club here on campus, so I'm used to going out to do some stargazing. Stargate, SG-1. Fuck. Really, that sounds pretty interesting. What do you all do? The way I run things, we generally do research activities to learn more about topics related to astronomy. We also do bi-monthly stargazing sessions using telescopes. Wow, almost sounds like another class from the way you describe it. Well, I'm not as strict as a teacher, that's for sure. It's pretty laid back, but I try my best to encourage participation. How long have you been doing it? I became president only recently, but I've been in the club my whole time here. It's been a lot of fun. Oh my god, I can't talk! In my brain! Maybe joining a club full-time wouldn't be half bad. Jesus. The newspaper club is at least led by hell yeah! Who's probably just as passionate about journalism as Jean is about astronomy. By the way, where the fuck is Lena? We've only met her once. Come on. Get more than Lena. Anyway, Jean's giving me something to think about. I'm glad you've had fun with your club. That's really neat stuff you're doing. I should think so. Jean reaches into her bag and opens up a small notebook. Oh, before I forget, let's see. My schedule's pretty open today for tutoring. How about we meet up in the school library at 5:30? That works for me. I don't have anything going on after school. Perfect. Newspaper club with Lena. Come on. Damn it. Fuck you. Eric, you sabotaged me. Traitor. Jean makes her exit. Ah, did Jean leave already? Yeah, she had to get to class. I see. Well, take your seat for now. Your classmates will be here in a minute. I have to say, that went better than I originally thought. Jean wasn't what I expected from a student tutor. Nothing like the hard-nosed stuffed shirts I had as tutors at my old school. Is OBS still recording? Yes. Just had to check. It's still disappointing to know that the administration has already figured out that I'm not the best student. Maybe I'm putting too much weight on this morning's meetings, but I'd like to think I could have faked the star student role for at least a week. Maybe I can turn it around today. Yeah, if I keep telling myself, I'm sure it'll happen. Small victories are already starting to pile up as I manage to make my way to my seat without embarrassing myself, while everyone else filters into the class for homeroom. You lunatic! This morning's announcements pass by with little fanfare, and before I know it, it's time for maths. About half of the class get up to leave, the others staying behind. They're soon replaced by other students, and among them I spot my neighbor from last time, the girl with the perpetual earphones. She drifts over to her desk next to mine without looking around, seemingly unaware of the world around her. While I might still be at the stage of not quite being able to put a name to every student, I'm starting to recognize quite a few faces. I'm sure I haven't seen her a single time since Monday. Taking a chance, I give her a wave and nod in greeting. I half expected she might not notice at all with her earbuds already in, but she falters for a moment, and the slightest flicker of moment in her hand, that I choose to interpret as a wave, and the glance in my general direction tells me that she did. Before I can say good morning though, Miss Clays purposefully clears her throat, needing to do nothing more to signal the start of class. I cannot talk. Once everyone has settled down, she begins a lecture on a body of mathematics I'm completely unfamiliar with. Last lesson covered topics I already knew, but this time it's all fresh. Still, I think I can handle this. Laplace transforms. Get it good, noob. Amazingly, I managed to stay awake throughout the entire lecture, and I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on the subject matter. As I start to work on the practice problems, I notice the girl next to me is once again listening to music, this time under her hood. Was she listening to music during the lecture? Maybe she doesn't even need to be in this class. She certainly seems to be writing plenty, and with confidence. That said, she could just be doodling meaninglessly like last time. Her hand movements do have that distracted, erratic look about them. God, my freaking throat hurts. Why? I'm actually a little I'm actually a little proud of myself. I managed to get through all of the problems with very little difficulty. Perhaps I could even get to like maths a little. Okay, that might be pushing it. So, I'm going to call it here, because I can't talk for shit. Even though I want to play more, for some reason, my diction is just getting worse by the second. And yeah, we'll call it there and do stuff. Shit.